Knock on the bell. The doorbell. The bell right there, yeah. Small one. Sounds bigger than it.
To the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Today's video takes us to Fuquay Marina, North Carolina on May 4th, 2024, where Mr. Rodriguez resides. On this day, Mr. Jose Rodriquez, 61, is at home with his granddaughter, a 26-year-old woman, and he sees a man in his kitchen. He doesn't know who he is, so he asks the man, "Who are you? What are you doing in my house?" An argument ensues, and he tells him to leave. So she and the boyfriend leave. And while he's cleaning the house, sometime later, he gets a knock on his door. He's also hearing the doorbell being rang, and he notices that the knocks are quite loud. So he answers the door. This was his first mistake. He had a Ring camera, but he didn't look through it. He stayed in the frame of the door, and this is what happened.
Hey, Jose.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Can I help you?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
Mind if we step inside?
No.
Okay. So, what happened tonight, man?
I don't know. You here. You tell me.
Well, I'm asking you what happened.
Like what?
What happened tonight?
You tell me. You here. So who called you?
So you have no idea why we're
Who
here?
called you? God called you? Answer the question.
I'd like for you to answer mine
No.
first.
Officer Bryce Roshdi would continue to engage in a verbal back and forth with Mr. Rodriguez, insisting he needed to answer police questions. Mr. Rodriguez asserted his constitutional right to remain silent and explained that he was under no legal obligation to speak. He then asked Officer Roshdi if the officers had a warrant. They admitted they did not. Mr. Rodriguez followed by asking if he was being detained. When Officer Roshdi confirmed that he was not detained, Mr. Rodriguez told the officers to leave his property. At that moment, Officer Roshdi reached toward Mr. Rodriguez, attempting to grab him and pull him outside. As Mr. Rodriguez backed into his home to avoid the unlawful seizure, Officer McCullen and Officer Roshdi forced their way inside, tackled him to the ground, and initiated a violent takedown. Officer Alexandra Wrench, described as a heavier-set officer, jumped on Mr. Rodriguez's back, adding to the unnecessary and excessive force used during the illegal entry.
When they tried to pull me off the floor, they pick out the handcuff, but they pull the arm like that with the handcuff and pull me off the floor like that. And
To give a more detailed context, this is what Mr. Rodriguez wrote to Don Andre Investigations, which he then posted in his description to this video, the one that I'm borrowing the video from. Officers McCullen, Roesti, and Wrench came to my home after my granddaughter made a call to them after an altercation with me. My granddaughter was temporarily staying with me until such a time she could get her own place. The arrangement consisted on she staying in my home for 4 days and the rest of the weekdays with her mother. She never had a key. She did not have a code to the electronic door lock. Prior to the altercation with me, she had already been evicted from the property at least 6 hours prior, with her clothing and her other items removed from the property. She returned late in the evening, claiming she had forgotten something. I told her at the front door that it was late and she should return the next day. She tried to force herself inside the home, and I closed the door in her face. That is the altercation of the alleged force used against her. So she put a call into 911 saying that her grandfather used force against her. And if you're the first to call the police, they seem to have a biased bent towards the caller. You could see how quickly they entered his home, minus exigent circumstances or a warrant, which is completely illegal for them to do. It is absolutely well-established case law, which we're going to get into. Peyton versus New York, 1980. This is well established. Police need either an emergency, which is exigency, like a hot pursuit, or someone screaming inside that they're being hurt or even killed. Things like that qualify for exigent circumstances. You do not need a warrant for that. This is nowhere meeting that burden. It's not even close. And yet, as you can see, they barged their way in there and toppled this man to the ground, dropping all that weight on him. I'm going to let the civil rights lawyer articulate Peyton versus New York real quick here because this guy's a professional. I love his content. He has a great way of explaining these things in very simple terms. So to get us started, we're going to hear the civil rights lawyer explain well-established case law on when and when police cannot enter your home.
This is the most basic right that we have under the Fourth Amendment that this officer is apparently completely oblivious to. As the Supreme Court held in the 1980 case of Peyton versus New York, absent valid consent or exigent circumstances, i.e. an emergency actively occurring, law enforcement may not cross the threshold of a residence without a warrant. There is no "I smell weed" exception to this. So even if a police officer does have probable cause to make an arrest for someone of some crime, Peyton versus New York says, sorry, you have to come back with a warrant. It doesn't matter what you smell, what you know. You could have the most airtight case of all time for possession of marijuana or smoking marijuana in a home that has ever existed. Xavier could have admitted that he had smoked an epic amount of completely illegal weed, and this cop still could not legally arrest him without a warrant. Why? Because he is in his home.
Okay, so here is Peyton versus New York, 1980. Here's what this case law has held. The Fourth Amendment, made applicable to the states by the 14th Amendment, prohibits the police from making a warrantless and non-consensual entry into a suspect's home in order to make a routine felony arrest. Take note of that because the clip from the civil rights attorney was a man who butt-dialed police in Kentucky and they smelled weed on his front porch, so they tried to hem him up and get in the house to see if they could find more weed. And as he explained, they cannot do that. It's actually laughable that they tried to do that. They ended up not going into his home. They did not have probable cause to enter his home. And like he explained, it rises to a higher level than just probable cause. It must be a warrant or it must be exigent circumstances. There's only two ways they can get in outside of you inviting them in. So even for a routine felony arrest, they need that warrant. Moving on, the physical entry of the home is the chief evil against which the wording of the Fourth Amendment is directed. To be arrested in the home involves not only the invasion attendant to all arrests, but also an invasion of the sanctity of the home, which is too substantial an invasion to allow without a warrant. In the absence of exigent circumstances, even when it is accomplished under statutory authority and when probable cause is present, in terms that apply equally to seizures of property and to seizures of persons, the Fourth Amendment has drawn a firm line at the entrance to the house. Absent exigent circumstances, that threshold may not reasonably be crossed without a warrant. Okay, so armed with these facts about the law and the Constitution, let's rewatch this clip. And you can see, as I break it down frame by frame, what's going on here and what the untrained eye might not see.
Hey, Jose.
Hello.
Hey, what's going
Can I
on?
help you?
Yeah, we had a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
Mind if we step inside?
No.
Okay. So, what happened tonight, man?
I don't know. You here. You tell me.
Well, I'm asking you what happened.
Like what?
What happened tonight?
You tell me. You here.
Okay, so remember the context. His granddaughter's butthurt. She calls the cops to try to get him in trouble because she wanted to get back in that house claiming she forgot something. If that's even true. And he shut her down. He shut the door in her face. Remember when I read what he wrote to Don Andre Investigations? Well, in that excerpt, he notated how he had kicked her out 6 hours prior because they were arguing, her behavior, the man in the house that he didn't invite, her boyfriend. All these things added up to him throwing her out. He has every right to. She's 26 years old. She wasn't staying there permanently. He agreed to let her stay there for 4 days, so she's not a resident of the home. So here this cop is, and he's trying to solicit information from Mr. Rodriguez, and Mr. Rodriguez is not having it. He knows his rights. He wants him to tell him what happened. Why? So he can incriminate himself? This is exactly why you don't speak to the police. They have nothing. Why give them anything? All that was a single call by the woman, his granddaughter, and that is not corroborated by any other evidence or reports. They just have a single phone call. So she can be completely lying. That's why they need corroborating evidence before they can make this even a charge, right? At this point, he's got nothing, this cop, and he's going to turn that into barging through his door.
So who called you?
So you have no idea why we're
Who
here?
called you? God called you? Answer the question.
I'd like for you to answer my
No.
part.
Officer Bryce Roshdi would continue to engage in a verbal back and forth with Mr. Rodriguez, insisting he needed to answer police questions. Mr. Rodriguez asserted his constitutional right to remain silent and explained that he was under no legal obligation to speak. He then asked Officer Roshdi if the officers had a warrant. They admitted they did not. Mr. Rodriguez followed by asking if he was being detained. When Officer Roshdi confirmed that he was not detained, Mr. Rodriguez told the officers to leave his property. At that moment, Officer Roshdi reached toward Mr. Rodriguez, attempting to grab him and pull him outside. As Mr. Rodriguez backed into his home to avoid the unlawful seizure, Officer McCullen and Officer Roshdi forced their way inside, tackled him to the ground, and initiated a violent takedown.
Look at the look on this guy's face. He is genuinely in fear for Mr. Rodriguez's life. You can't fake that look. This is real life. This is reality. What these cops did is abhorrent. They should be in prison. They're burglars. They're committing a home invasion with an assault and battery. There are people that are sitting in prison for 25 years for those charges. Do you think that's going to happen to them? Now do you see the disparity? The disparity in cops being reprimanded by their department versus a civilian doing this and getting locked up for life is astronomical. So we see that he did not have the exigency, right? This was an emergency. He received a call and he has every right to investigate that call. He shows up to Mr. Rodriguez's house. He shuts him down. You know what he has to do at this point? Go and find more evidence, more corroborating evidence to that call. Maybe re-interview the granddaughter who made the call. Find out if she has other witnesses to this. He needs more evidence. He needs more probable cause to get the warrant. He's got to go before a judge with the probable cause, and then that gets him the warrant. Once he has the warrant, hey, it's lock, stock, and barrel. They're coming in. He doesn't have that warrant. He can't cross the threshold. So they broke the law. The cops indeed did break the law here.
Officer Alexandra Wrench, described as a heavier set officer, jumped on Mr. Rodriguez's back, adding to the unnecessary and excessive force used during the illegal entry.
I'm just going to pause it right there, and I want to speak to this wise. If ever a police officer is at your door, you don't even have to answer the door. They can ring your bell for 10 minutes. Now, most normal people are going to answer the door. So in the beginning of the video, I had said that was his first mistake, only because I'm seeing what happened in retrospect, that they ended up hurting this man. Like, he has injuries to this day to his shoulder, to his abdomen. It's unfortunate that you don't know that in that split second, that you're just reacting and opening the door, right? Like any normal person would. When you look out the door and you see that it's police, and you could see these guys have bad intentions, man, the way they came through that doorway, the look on their faces, how aggressive they were. This is a 61-year-old man, and he looks elderly. He looks older. Some people are 61, they might look 51. He looks 61. And he's frail. He wasn't a big guy, he was slight framed. You have these two young, strong, burly officers kicking the door in, and then this 250-pound woman just sits on top of everybody? I mean, this is a complete joke. This is policing in America. Beware of it, because you really might not think it's going to happen to you, and you just slough it off as nothing. It's not even a second thought until one day it does happen. And at least if you're armed with the intelligence and the know-how, the wisdom, you can actually fight back without violence. You don't have to answer the door, but if you do answer the door, answer from behind the door. Don't open the door, because that would force their hand to now kick the door in. That's something they don't want to do. Once they get that door open, they'll put their foot in the door. They'll keep talking to you. They'll get a little bit closer to that threshold. In fact, I'm going to post what curtilage is. They can't even pass the curtilage of your home. There's an imaginary halo about 3 feet around every person's home. It's called curtilage. That is equivalent to the interior of your home. So they're not only past the curtilage, but now they're inside the home. This is clearly a violation. It's a crime. So when it was all said and done, 61-year-old Jose Rodriquez was charged with misdemeanor assault on a female, misdemeanor resisting a public officer, and spent 16 hours in jail. Mind you, with his injuries. Remember, he had said that they yanked him up by his handcuffed hands that were behind his back.
When they tried to pull me off the floor, they pick out the handcuff, but they pull the arm like that with the handcuff and pull me off the floor like that,
injuring his elbow and his torso area. On July 31, he appeared in court pro se, meaning he represented himself. Officer McCullen admitted that they had no warrant and that Mr. Rodriguez was not detained, and they had no legal justification for entry and arrest. The court concluded the officers acted in bad faith, and judgment went to Mr. Rodriguez. All charges were dropped. They violated his Fourth Amendment rights and filed frivolous charges. And then on May 28, 2025, Mr. Rodriguez has filed a federal rights lawsuit, and I wish him the best of luck with that. And the lawsuit is against the city of Fuquay Varina Police Department, Chief of Police Brandon Medina, Officer Matthew McCullen, Officer Bryce Rusty, Officer Alexandra Wrench. And so we can see that these officers either don't know the law, or when you clam up and don't speak, they get so butthurt, they become dangerous felons. That's right, when an officer is butthurt, he becomes a dangerous criminal. There's nothing more dangerous than a butthurt officer. They will literally kill you. In this case, he escaped with his life, thank God. And he is going to sue the pants off of this precinct because they had absolutely no reasonable articulable suspicion to detain him, let alone barge into his home and topple their weight onto him and detain him illegally and then arrest him on top of that. So I'm just glad things came to light. He had a video camera in his home. They kept the body cam. Their body cams have not been released. It's being held, and they're calling it confidential information, whatever that is. It's supposed to be public record. You should be able to make a public records request for that body-worn camera. But thank goodness he had that camera inside his doorway, recording the entire frame of the door. And so justice was served. Although I think the officer should be fired and put in jail, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. That's extremely rare. Even in a case like this where an assault was committed, assault, battery, home invasion, like I alluded to earlier, they can do 25 years in prison as civilians for crimes such as that. But a part of me is just glad that they're under the scrutiny of judges and lawyers and having to deal with this and admit in open court that they were wrong. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. That's why when at least that happens, they've been put on blast, so people know their information's public, they know who they are, and this video hopefully will spread. The channel that featured it, Don Andre Investigations, got a lot more views than my video will, but my hope is that more and more people see who these officers are and what they're about, and it's not protecting and serving. And so I hope that this video brings some kind of awareness to illegal searches and seizures under the Fourth Amendment and what is contained in the Fourth Amendment and how specific it is and how adamant the Fourth Amendment rejects this. It categorically denies their entry absent exigency or a warrant. God be with you all. Godspeed.